Hello and welcome to Competitive Crunch Meet Pokemon X Edition. My name is Spade and today we are going to take a look at Talonflame, which is most certainly, definitely my favorite Pokemon of Generation 6, both visually and competitively speaking, because it's this fast, fiery falcon of destruction. And in the competitive Pokemon scene, it has this unique potential which definitely lies in its hidden ability, which really sets it apart from the rest of the pack. And finally, Nintendo, Game Freak, or the Pokemon Company, they made this decision to make this generic, normal flying type 3-stage evolutionary bird Pokemon at the beginning of the Pokédex into something different. And they made Talonflame a fire flying type. And it may not seem much, but in Nintendo's book, that is progress. But today we are going to take a look at Talonflame from the competitive perspective, starting with its base stats, which you can see on the screen right now. It has taken quite a while to gather all the information about the base stats, and I got these from Bulbapedia. I will leave a link in the description, because now, without the possibility of hacking Pokemon X and Y, at least yet, you have to gather all the information by hand. But finally we have a good look at this Pokemon's base stats, and without further ado, let's just jump right into it. And definitely Talonflame exceeds at speed. It is its greatest ally at 126. But then at the other stats, they are kind of mediocre, but its second best stats is definitely its attack at 81, which is still, even at 81, it is quite mediocre, and its special attack is 74, but next we're gonna take a little look at its Movepool, and definitely judging by its Movepool and its stats, it is clear to everyone that this Pokemon Talonflame is meant to be a physical sweeper. So here I have made a list of all the most notable moves that Talonflame is able to learn. However, if you are interested in the full move pool of Talonflame, I will leave a link in the description to either Bulbapedia or Cerebi or both, where you can check the entire move pool. But for the sake of this video, I'm not going to be talking about moves such as Tackle and Growl, because obvious reasons. But something to note, we are still not completely aware of all the egg moves and possible move tutor moves that Talonflame has access to, but if it doesn't get close combat or some sort of auto fighting type move, I don't think they're gonna have a too big of an impact. And now, before we get into the whole move pool, we need to talk about the hidden ability of Talonflame, which is Gale Wings. And this ability, this wonderful ability, gives Talonflame +1 priority to all flying type moves. So basically +1 priority, such as we have Mach Punch, Aqua Jet, and Bullet Punch, moves like that, they got +1 priority. But imagine that coupled with something like Stab, Adamant Nature, Brave Bird, or Acrobatics. It is now possible with this unique Pokemon Talonflame and Gale Wings. And on that note, when we talk about possible egg moves and Talonflame most likely not getting any fighting type moves, it might just be so that Talonflame would be too good if it would actually have access to something like close combat. And there's a reason why Game Freak made this unique ability for Talonflame combined with a shallow move pool, because they often do this, that they experience with some sort of unique abilities, but then they restrict the Pokemon somehow. Like, let's say Volcarona. That was the Pokemon in last generation to be used with the, at the time, new move Quiver Dance. But Game Freak made sure that it wouldn't be broken by having this 4x weakness to Stealth Rocks, despite having godly stats. And then its move pool was also, like, kinda shallow. It did have the tools that it needed to succeed, but really nothing more. And Talonflame in a lot of ways is kind of the same thing here. But enough of that, let's talk about all the notable moves that Talonflame does have access to, starting with some boosting moves such as Bulk Up and Swords Dance. Those are the best boosting moves Talonflame does have access to, and coupled with its mediocre attack stat of only 81, these moves are definitely necessary to have on Talonflame, or you could, you know, of course use a Choice Band. That's a decent option. But when you talk about boosting its attack, these are definitely the way to go. If you want to go more defensive, you got Bulk Up. But if you want to go all out offensive, you have access to Sword Stance, giving you that instant +2. And then, as I mentioned about the Gale Wings ability, we got some moves to nicely go with it, with Brave Bird and Acrobatics that I quickly mentioned already, and then also with Roost and Tailwind. And definitely Brave Bird and Acrobatics, those are probably two of the best physical flying type moves that you got in the entire game, because I think the only one more powerful would be Sky Attack, but Sky Attack sucks, so let's not talk about that at all. And yeah, Brave Bird and Acrobatics, definitely the meat on the table that you want to be using on pretty much every set that you have. On Talonflame, you can combine Acrobatics with Flying Gem, and possibly Brave Bird with either Choice Band or Life Orb. And then if you want to have some support moves, you have Roost or Tailwind. Tailwind might have a nice niche as a last-minute boosting move for your entire team, because you got that priority, so you can put on a Tailwind before you go down, and then something else on your team could use that speed to finish off your opponents. And then of course priority Roost is kind of nice, especially combined with Bulk Up. You might be able to set up, you know, further by first bulking up, then roosting up, and then bulking up more, and rinse and repeat until you're up to like +6, and then you can destroy your opponent with Brave Bird, and then compensate for that recoil with Roost again. And then we got, speaking of more recoil, Talonflame does have access to Flare Blitz, another wonderful move that it kind of needs to have. Brave Bird and Flare Blitz are kind of the moves of choice that pretty much all the sets are going to be running on Talonflame, because they are stab moves and they are both 120 base power. And definitely Roost, again, a nice move to go alongside with the recoil of Flare Blitz and Brave Bird, especially if you're running that Bulk Up. And, well, basically, those are all the best moves that you have on Talonflame. Then the next one, they're like, kind of like meh. They are options, but, you know, you still want to think about them if you're going to have them on your set. So, we got Steel Wing. Like, it's a decent move, especially since it is super effective against those new fairy types, so you may want to have that. And also, Talonflame kind of gets walled by rock types, so it might be a decent option to have against those rock types, although it's still not the most powerful move. For example, like, you cannot one-shot T-Tar with Steel Wing, even at +2. It still does like diddly. It does like over half, but like, you want to one-shot that T-Tar, right? And all those bulky rock types. So, but that is pretty much the best option that Talonflame has against rock types. So, on that note, it's actually a decent move. And also, again, against those fairies. And then it also has access to U-turn. So, that might be a decent move if you are like running a Choice Band set. So, Choice Banded Brave Bird is definitely nice. And then you have that U-turn for scouting and seeing if those rock types are coming in, so it might be a decent move on a choice set, I would say. And then like you got return, that is always an option, but it always signals a shallow Movepool if you are forced to run return. And you know, I guess I could consider using return possibly against Rotom W, that otherwise kind of takes the dual stab moves off Talonflame. And then a couple other options would be Will-O-Wisp and Taunt, but Will-O-Wisp really not a good option, because if you want to be boosting up your defense, just go with Bulk Up and Roost. Do not bother with Will-O-Wisp. And then Taunt, like, I guess that would be a decent option to stop some walls from, you know, paralyzing or toxicking you, and then further boosting up with something like Bulk Up. But I think overall Roost would be the safer option. But, you know, I guess on some instances, like let's say you're facing a Hippowdon, like it only has EQ as its attacking move, and then it's going to be toxicking and roaring you out. Then you just taunt it, and then you set up with Bulk Ups all over it. Like that might be a way to go. But then again, if you're facing a Hippowdon, you want to make sure you take it out with something else before bringing out Talonflame, because Hippo might have you know, always Stone Edge, so there is that too. And that is Talonflame's Movepool in a nutshell. Then we move on to the type chart, see what is going on over there. And definitely Talonflame's biggest downfall is the fact that it is weak to Stealth Rocks 4 times. So whenever you're using Talonflame, make sure you have either Rapid Spin or a Defog support on your team. In fact, Excadrill is a pretty good solid partner for Talonflame. Because, yeah, like I just said, Talonflame has troubles with rock types, and Excadrill can kind of destroy them. And also, if there's a spin blocker, such as Aegislash, which is one of the most common ones currently at the moment, Excadrill can help you destroy that Pokemon as well, being a ground type with powerful Earthquake, and then able to Rapid Spin rocks away after that. But Rapid Spin or Defog support is definitely appreciated. And on that note, you want to make sure that Talonflame has the odd number of HP so it can actually switch into Stealth Rocks twice if you absolutely have to. And then Talonflame also has weakness to water and electric, so it's just screaming for Rotom W to destroy it. So especially on the special side, it is easily taken down by some bulky water Scald or Thunderbolt from some sort of, or even Volt Switch from some fast sweeper. Let's say Heliolisk as a new special electric type sweeper of the Gen 6 metagame. So you need to watch out for those. And Heliolisk is a decent check at least, because you know it does resist flying, and you can just Volt Switch on Talonflame, which is really not that bulky. And then Talonflame is hit neutrally by 8 different types, and coupled again with its mediocre bulk, Talonflame definitely doesn't want to be switching any of those attacks. Like, let's say Gengar Shadow Ball, it'll get 2-hit KO'd unless you're running some sort of weird EV spread on it, which is not really recommended. So you definitely want to make sure that Talonflame, with its mediocre bulk, again, is sent out safely so it can possibly set up, and then, you know, with that mediocre bulk, take at least that 1 hit and then start using priority flying type moves to just hopefully sweep and go from there. But it's not meant to tank any hits. But it does have some really useful resistances in fighting Bug and Steel, and that right there is just screaming for you to set up on a Scissor. Because you resist all those common moves that Scissor carries, and then you also have priority to go over Scissor's priority Bullet Punch. So that right there is good. Although Scissor, I guess some of them these days carry Thief, but even that you can take at least one of them and outspeed the Bullet Punch with, let's say, priority Acrobatics. And then there's also the resistance to Fire, Grass, and Fairy. And now, especially in Generation 6, Fairy types are most likely going to be used a lot to counter those dragons. You can use Talonflame to then deal with those fairies, take those Fairy type attacks, and then try to set up on those Fairy type Pokemon that are used to be dealing with dragons. So that Fairy type resistance is definitely nice, because Fire types do have that nice little attribute there. So coupled with those resistances, Talonflame can certainly find opportunities to set up and then hopefully sweep. And by the way, I got this type chart from Bulbapedia, so credits to them. I will leave a link in the description again. And then, since we have covered most of the basics, we can move on and talk a bit about possible movesets you could run on Talonflame. And on that note, I could also give some credits to Smogon.com, because everything competitive Pokemon related when talking about me is influenced by Smogon.com, because they are seriously the best website when it comes to competitive Pokemon battling. So I will leave a link in the description for Smogon website. They also have awesome forums which are filled with too much information about everything. But now we talk about the possible movesets, starting with this one that I got right here on the screen right now. So now let's get started, and let's actually move from the bottom to up. I possibly should have done a different kind of layout. I didn't really think this through. Maybe I'll change that for the next time. Maybe, who knows, I digress. We start with the item, Flying Gem. That's a really nice item that goes hand in hand with the move Acrobatics. And then the nature we are going to have is Adamant, which boosts your attack, but lowers your special attack, which you are not going to be using anyways. So that's the perfect nature, and that nature that goes hand in hand with the ability Gale Wings, because you can afford to run a plus attack nature instead of a plus speed nature because of this awesome Gale Wings ability, giving you priority to your strongest, one of your strongest moves that you are pretty much going to be spamming. Because the whole reason you're going to be using Talonflame in the first place is Gale Wings. So on that note, you can go with the Adamant Nature because of that ability, giving you a +1 to all your flying type moves. In this case, it would be acrobatics. And then let's talk about the effort values. I did calculate this myself, and then I did go over to the Smogon forums where some other people were also recommending this spread, because it may not be clear, but I will cover it right now. So 252 attack, I think that is self-explanatory. Talonflame, you want to maximize the attack. It doesn't have the highest attack to begin with, so yeah, just go max out your attack, go with Adamant Nature, Gale Wings, you got this. And then the speed, so we're going to be giving this Adamant Nature Talonflame 164 speed EVs, so that it will be faster than a positive speed nature Pokemon with base 100 speed. So for example, let's say you are facing a timid nature Jirachi with max speed. It will reach the speed of 328, yes, at level 100. And with this EV spread, Talonflame with Adamant Nature will reach the speed, assuming that you have max IVs on speed. Of course you want to have max IVs, of course. So, assuming that this Adamant Nature, Talonflame with 164 speed EVs, it will reach the speed of 329. So it will be 1 base speed faster than Jirachi with this EV spread. And gotta say, like, that is just one example. So at this point, as we do not have established tiers, in the future we will know better. So you could definitely make and alter this EV spread a bit to only outspeed certain threats that you just want to specifically outspeed. Like, let's say in the future, once tiers are established, the only Pokemon that you really want to be outspeeding with your Talonflame is Excadrill outside of Sand. So you're going to be only giving it enough speed EVs to be faster than, let's say, a Jolly Nature Excadrill that has like base 88 speed. So you could actually cut loose from some speed EVs and actually add some bulk. And then maybe opposite way around, if you want to be faster than, let's say, one of those new Pokemon, Heliolisk. I believe that reaches the speed of 109, as the max speed of Talonflame is 126. Then you have to cut loose some HP EVs to be faster than the positive speed nature non-scarfed Heliolisk in order to outspeed it to be faster than 109 speed. But you know, this base 100, base 100 is a pretty common speed tier when it comes to Pokemon, so this kind of just casual standard spread, and then you can alter it in order to outspeed specific threats that you specifically just want to outspeed. And hopefully that made some sense, but basically we'll just have to wait and see how the metagame is going to develop, and then adjust our Talonflame's speed EVs from there, depending on how the metagame is going to be shifting. Basically, with base 100 speed being faster than them, you can hit a lot of other Pokemon with Flare Blitz, and then whatever your filler move is gonna be, whether it's Steel Wing or something else. Although Talonflame again doesn't get too many other options, but you are still gonna be outspeeding a lot of the metagame with those filler moves, other two attacks that are not acrobatics. Flare Blitz is kind of still a main move, but of course you're gonna be using acrobatics for the most part. So on that note, everything else is filler. But anyways, enough of speed, then we move on to the HP. Pretty simple spread, because you just want to maximize the speed and outspeed those base 100 Pokemon, and then the rest remaining EVs that you have, you can just throw on to the HP, so you can try and maximize the bulk of Talonflame and hopefully make it a bit bulkier, so it can possibly set up that other second sword stance if just possible, or then just in a sticky situation you are able to take one extra hit, set up that one sword stance and go for the acrobatics from there. But yeah, depending on your speed EVs, what you want to be outspeeding, then just throw the rest to HP so you can maximize your bulk and go from there.
Talonflame, stop!
And then the moves, kind of went through these already, but let's talk about them more in this specific set. So we got Sword Stance, Acrobatics, Flare Blitz, and Steel Wing. Kind of self-explanatory because, as we saw earlier, Talonflame definitely suffers from shallow Movepool syndrome, so you don't really have many better options here. So this is what we got, and this is what Talonflame can really abuse the best, at least in my opinion. So starting with Sword Stance, definitely the boosting move of choice here on this offensive set. And with that, once you have Adamant Nature, max attack, and you Sword Stance once, you are able to reach the attack of 574. And you couple that with Flying Gem Acrobatics, that is going to be destroying a lot, even physical walls. It's really powerful. But then again, we still don't have that Flying Gem, so that's kind of an issue at this moment. But I'm sure eventually it will get released and we're going to have happy good times with good old Talonflame. But then the next move is going to be Flare Blitz, of course, the mandatory secondary stab move. And that is going to help Talonflame to obviously destroy the steel types that do resist flying. And then the last remaining move is Steel Wing, which does help against some rock types, you know, such as Tyranitar, although it is still not that powerful, because like at +2 it will do like around 60 to 70% to a standard semi-defensive Tyranitar. That wasn't really specific, but you know, I don't really know what EV spreads people are specifically running on Tyranitar right now, but usually it has like max HP at least, and maybe some few HP defense EVs, and then a lot of attack. But you cannot one-shot Tyranitar with Steel Wing, so that's still kind of an issue. But Steel Wing is still kind of your best bet at you know, doing at least some damage. In late game, you could take out the Tyranitar if it has been worn down to a point. And then some other options, you could be also running Life Orb with Brave Bird and Flare Blitz as your only attacks, and then as a filler move you could have either Tailwind or Roost, because with Tailwind you can use that as a last ditch support move to help out your team, so some of them can actually outspeed and help you win the game. Or then you could be running just Roost to compensate for the Life Orb and those attack recoils, because Brave Bird and Flare Blitz are just gonna be causing you so much recoil, and you might want to compensate that with Roost if you just possibly can. And then you could be running a bulk up set with Roost and Leftovers as the item to help you out bulking up, because you know, bulk up set of course being bulkier set, and you can try to set up on some physical sweeper like let's say Scissor. So you take some hits, you bulk up, when you get down on health you just start roosting, and then just rinse and repeat until you have enough boosts to actually start sweeping, or before your opponent actually switches out and tries to you know, try his best to counter you. And on this set you could possibly run like max HP, max attack, and then just throw the last remaining 4 EVs into like speed or defense. But I still think you would want to have and outspeed as many Pokemon as possible, and then just destroy them with Flare Blitz. All those Pokemon that do not get hit effectively with Brave Bird. So you want to be outspeeding as many Pokemon as possible, I would say.
Talonflame, move.
And then, of course, you could be running a good old Choice Band set, because Choice Banded Stab Brave Bird with priority sounds really, really appealing, and that is what it is indeed, and that's definitely something you could abuse. And then, of course, go with Flare Blitz and U-turn definitely for some scouting, and because Tyranitar is always going to be switching into Talonflame, you know, that's definitely a nice move to get some chip damage and get the switch initiative that way. But basically, U-turn really nice move on a Choice Banded Talonflame, because its move pool is so shallow, a lot of Pokemon can switch into it. Like, let me talk about a few counters or checks here, by the way, as we go. I'll talk about that in a moment, but basically the point, you know, for example, T-Tar can switch into it and really wants to switch into it, knowing that it can take its dual stab. So then you just U-turn out, get some momentum going on, and go from there. And then the last move would be on a choice band set. You could be running Steel Wing again to just hit those rock types for super effective damage. But I guess you could also, like, I don't really know what other flying type moves Talonflame would like get, because I didn't really mention anything else, because the other options aren't really good. So I guess, like, well, obviously on a choice band set you don't want to be running acrobatics, so I guess your next best move would be like Aerial Ace, to have like a last ditch move if you cannot afford to take some recoil, yet you want to be spamming a flying type move late game to clean up. So that might be a decent move to have on it, but otherwise you could be just running Steel Wing to cover those rock types as best as you can, even though, you know, still not the best move. But now talking a bit about counters, how to deal with Talonflame. So definitely, like, once we get access to Heatran, that pretty much can take any move from Talonflame, but you gotta be afraid of +2 stab Flying Gem acrobatics, because if you don't run any defense EVs on your Heatran, that thing is gonna get destroyed. But then again, at this time we don't need to worry about Heatran, as we have to wait till December until we get that Pokemon Bank thingy-mabory, so we can get our access to Heatran. Or I don't know if there's gonna be a Heatran event, that'd be nice. But anyways, I'm rambling, moving on. Rotom W, definitely solid. I guess you could call it a counter, because if you run like a bold nature defensive set, you can take Talonflame's dual stab with that, and you can force Talonflame out with your own dual stab, because Talonflame is weak to electric and water, which Rotom W of course is. So that's a good way to deal with it. And of course you could like run Pain Split on it, or then again it's not good against recoil moves, so never mind. But still, Rotom W with its good typing and natural bulk can definitely deal with Talonflame to an extent, because if you're running offensive one, and once we get that Flying Gem, even Rotom W is not gonna appreciate a +2 acrobatics with Flying Gem. And then of course Tyranitar, I kind of mentioned that already. It doesn't really care too much about U-turn or Steel Wing and stuff like that, and it can set up those pesky stealth rocks, and it can also hit you with a Stone Edge. So that's definitely a scary Pokemon to be facing for Talonflame. And then continuing on some rock types, I guess Rhyperior would deal with it pretty well, because even if your best option pretty much is like Steel Wing, and it has solid rock to deal with that. So Rhyperior doesn't really take kindly to any Talonflames. That's pretty much, can I say that Rhyperior is pretty much even better than Rotom, because it doesn't care about acrobatics. It has that naturally high defense. It can also set up those stealth rocks. It also has Stone Edge to destroy, or Rock Blast, or what have you, to destroy Talonflame. So Rhyperior would be definitely one of the better counters to Talonflame, especially because, you know, you can have leftovers on it. So, and acrobatics, even with the Flying Gem, like, probably doesn't do, I'd say, about 30-40% if you got +2 Adamant Nature stab acrobatics boosted by Swords Dance. So I'd say 30-40% ish, and then you lose that Flying Gem. It's one-time use, so there's that. Then in general, just rock types are really good, and I guess one of the new Pokemon would be like that Barbaracle, which is like water and rock type. And gotta say, other water and rock types, like I guess Kabutops would work out decently. It also has access to you know, well, it does have access to Aqua Jet, but then again, it doesn't matter with Gale Wings. But you know, acrobatics won't be doing much to Kabutops with its naturally good defense. Same thing goes for the Omastar, of course, so those things would be at least decent checks. Barbaracle, Omastar, and Kabutops, because they do, they also got 4 times resistance to fire and 2 times resistance to flying, so definitely worthy mentioned checks right here. And then a bit about supporting Talonflame. So this Pokemon definitely requires some spinning support in form of like Excadrill, which I think I already mentioned earlier, but Excadrill could be providing you with that rapid spin, get rid of those pesky Stealth Rocks that otherwise kind of just destroy Talonflame, and it's not gonna make its life easy. And on that note, I think I briefly at least mentioned that, but definitely make sure that your Talonflame has a odd number of HP, so it can actually switch into Stealth Rocks 2 times instead of just dying after one switch in. So that is definitely something that you want to make sure to fully utilize Talonflame in case you end up against Stealth Rocks and you're not able to spin. But spinning support would definitely be nice. And now in Generation 6 you could also have a Defog support, because Defog has been buffed up to remove hazards from both sides of the field. And what makes Defog interesting is that it is impossible to really block it unless you like taunt your opponent. But it's going to be difficult because so far the only way to get rid of hazards has been rapid spinning, and you got some pesky spin blockers always on the way. But now there's a way to get rid of them just like that by using Defog. But of course it will get rid of your own hazards too, but it's a way to get rid of everything in the field, just like that. No blocking whatsoever. So Defog support could be used, but at this time we don't really know how many Pokemon actually get Defog. Can it be learned as an egg move or what? Do we have to wait till December for Pokemon Bank until we can get our Defog users? So there's stuff like that to think, but Defog definitely a good option to go alongside with your Talonflame. And then of course you could have a drought support from Ninetales or Mega Charizard. Why not? Because you know, then you can further boost the second stat move of Talonflame, being Flare Blitz, and kind of destroy everything with that as well. And I guess on that note, one opposite way to kind of try to counter Talonflame would be to use Rain, because then in the Rain Steel types, you know, you cannot really touch them because Flare Blitz won't be doing much in the rain, and obviously the Acrobatics of Brave Bird won't be doing much to the Steel types. So that's another way you could use to deal with Talonflame. So, but yeah, Talonflame definitely a Pokemon that does appreciate support. But Excadrill definitely would be a really good partner. That's why I've been using it, because Talonflame doesn't really cover rock types. So once you get Excadrill, you can destroy those rock types and just get rid of those rocks with spinning. So Excadrill specifically a really solid partner for Talonflame, something you may want to consider when you are using Talonflame yourself. But then I would like to finish things off after rambling for like a half an hour. I feel empty now inside, talking this and everything about Talonflame. But I would like to make a little summary for the end. So pluses and minuses, pros and cons of Talonflame, why you should use it, why you perhaps shouldn't use it. So plus, let's start with the positive things, of course. Number one attraction of Talonflame is of course its ability, Gale Wings, and then you got moves such as Brave Bird everything, and Acrobatics to go with that. So you got priority Brave Bird, and with that being said, you know, this is the strongest priority you have in the entire game as far as base powers go, because priority Brave Bird, stab 120 base power, that's gonna hit like a truck, and it's gonna outspeed everything that doesn't have like +2 priority, like extreme speed maybe. But yeah, still that is definitely the main attraction. And then one more positive side is the Sword Stance and the Bulk Up, Talonflame was blessed with these boosting moves that many other bird Pokemon do not have. So that's definitely a nice thing. And then the downsides, the cons, we got 4 times weakness to Stealth Rock. That is definitely nasty, which you kind of have to patch up with a support Pokemon. So Talonflame doesn't really work on its own that well, because otherwise, if you don't have a spinner or a defog user, you're gonna be losing half of your health every time you switch it in to Stealth Rocks. And Stealth Rock is still most certainly going to be a common move, despite the defog and everything. So you need to watch out for that, and you need that support. So that's definitely a downside. And then the second major downfall for Talonflame is the shallow move pool, because it does have the tools it needs, but then its last move is always kind of gonna be a filler move, and it doesn't get a good fourth option, so it suffers from the shallow move pool. It doesn't have anything to really hit rock types hard. Like, it would really appreciate getting like close combat, but I believe it has already been confirmed that it's not gonna be getting close combat. Who knows in the future if there are some tutors that could do that, but at this time it's looking like it kind of gets walled by those rock types, and the shallow move pool, it's just kind of really hurting it. But it does still have the tools. It does have the tools to success, but really nothing more. Nothing more. Tools to do well, let's put it like that. Tools to do well, but nothing more. And so I would say Talonflame definitely has OU potential. A lot of people are at least using it right now, because everybody, myself included, are excited about the Gale Wings ability. It's such a unique, wonderful ability to have. But will it stay there? Will it stay high OU, or will it drop down? That is only something that time will tell, because, you know, the fact with the Stealth Rock weakness and the support it really requires, and the shallow move pool might be too much for it. And personally, I've had great experiences with Talonflame. I've had a bunch of sweeps with this thing, but that is mostly due to people not really knowing how to respond this thing. So I usually end up getting a free setup and go all the way up to like +4 and then just destroy everything. But hard to really know what's going to happen when people actually know how to deal with this thing, and, you know, all the counters and the checks are in place and stuff like that. And who knows what's going to happen to it. Will it stay in OU? It will most likely be OU, at least at the beginning of tiers and things, but we shall see. Only time will tell. And with that being said, I conclude this analysis on Talonflame. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching, if you actually did watch this whole thing. It perhaps turned to be a bit too long of a video, but I had a lot of things to say about Talonflame, because it's kind of like my favorite Pokemon, like I already said, from Generation 6, and I just talked everything I had to say about Talonflame, so here's the result. And also I hope that you enjoyed the little graphics and the visuals I had going on. I actually just kind of like remembered like yesterday, because I made most of these graphics like back in August, because I was hoping that we would actually get some base stats information early, but we never did. And now I was like, hey, I actually made some layouts ready, and now I could just put them in this thing. So that's what I decided to do. And I may change up a few things, but I think it should add up a nice little feature, you know, having some visuals going on. That's what some people have been asking, and because I had a smaller topic, as in one Pokemon, I thought I would actually give it a try, especially since I had this stuff ready already from August. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So on that note, again, thank you so much for watching, and I would also like to credit Bulbapedia, Cerebi, and Smogon, and also PK Paraiso, which provided that awesome moving Talonflame 2D 3D sprite thingy-map over. It's pretty awesome, so that's where I got that, and a lot of information I got from Bulbapedia, Cerebi, and Smogon. Competitive stuff from Smogon, and then the more casual stuff and the base stats and everything, stuff like that, from Cerebi and Bulbapedia. Really nice Pokemon websites. I will leave links in the description so you can check out those websites. All of them are really nice for Pokemon information, whether you are a casual fan or more of a competitive fan. I'm sure you will find something interesting on those websites if you are just a Pokemon fan. But this is dragging out way too long, so thanks again for watching. Let me know what you think. Do you want to see more? I'm probably gonna make shorter videos hopefully in the future if I'm gonna make more of these. But Talonflame, again, my favorite Pokemon. I could talk about that for hours, but I shouldn't. So I will see you guys next time on Competitive Crunch. Until then, this is TheFlamingSpade signing out. Peace!